Krishna did not send a speaker, so I had to schedule myself. But, like yesterday we said that togetherness is everything. So we're in this together. So let's make it a collective offering today. Okay, the verse for today is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 29, where Krishna and the gopis meet for the rasa dance. Verse number 16. Na chaivam vishmaya karyo bhavata bhavati aje yogeshvareshvare Krishne yata yatat vimuchyate. Na cha, word for word and translation by Srila Prabhupada's disciples. Na cha, nor. Evam, like this. Vishvam yaha, astonishment. Karyaha, should be head. Bhavata, by you. Thank Ananda Manjari. Bhagavati, in regard to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So everything we do should be Bhagavati, should be in regard to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ajay, unborn. Yoga Ishvara, of the masters of yoga. That's Yogeshwara Prabhu. We all know Yogeshwara Prabhu, masters of yogis, of yoga. Ishvare, the ultimate master. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Yataha, by whom? Etat, this world. Vimuchyate, becomes liberated. Translation. You should not be astonished by Krishna. That's Shukadev Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. Shukadev, after having described how Krishna and the gopis, how Krishna is playing the flute, and how the gopis are attracted to it, and how they are running towards Krishna, Shukadev Goswami says to Maharaj Parikshit, you should not be astonished by Krishna, the unborn master of all masters of mystic power, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After all, it is the Lord who liberates the world. So in other words, Shukadev Goswami is indicating that Krishna is not overcome by this world. He's not overpowered by this world. He's the one who liberates everybody from the clutches of Maya, of illusion, of something that is temporary, of something that is selfish, of something that is painful and hopeless. So Krishna is not under the modes of nature. Shukadev Goswami says here that he is the king, he's the master of all mystic power, and he's the one who liberates the world. Purport. Parikshit Maharaj should not have been so astonished that Krishna's so-called romantic affairs are in fact meant to liberate the entire universe. So we shouldn't be astonished that a romantic affair is meant to liberate us from our, puny, phony, romantic imitations. After all, that is the Lord's purpose, to bring all conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead, for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. The Lord's conjugal affairs with the gopis fit in very nicely with that program. See, Krishna's program is eternal. Krishna's morning program never ends. Krishna's class never ends. It's an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. Because we who are actually lusty in material consciousness can be purified and liberated by hearing of them. So we're the ones who are lusty, not Krishna and the gopis. We're the one who are actually lusty in material consciousness. And we're meant to be purified by hearing about those pastimes between Krishna and his most intimate devotees, the gopis. In the first, we should not be astonished that love is the center of the universe. Krishna's love, yes, Andrea, yes, we should not be astonished. In the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.33, Narada Muni, a transcendental spaceman, and the ultimate guitar player, Veena player, Narada Muni states, Amayo yascha bhutanam, jayate yena sur vrata, tadeva yam dravyam, na punati chikitsitam. O good soul, doesn't a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease that was caused by that very same thing? So this is our therapy for lust, those pastimes. They're meant to be applied therapeutically so that we can be cured from that disease. Thus, Krishna's romantic affairs, being pure spiritual activities, will cure those who hear about them of the disease of material lust. And hearing means hearing with the right attitude and from the right source. Okay. Now we'd like to invoke auspiciousness by prayer. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him again and again and again. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Putale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarini. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. Okay. So reading. Can you hear the subway in the background? Can you hear subway? No? Okay.
No.
So I'll keep the window open because I'm choking here. Okay. Yeah, so today's verse is about lust, and lust is what is lust according to Bhagavad Gita? How does Krishna identify lust in the Bhagavad Gita? What does Krishna say about lust in the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna says that lust is what? You don't have to quote the verse, just maybe you heard.
All devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Yes, Adipati.
Never satisfied.
Yes. Let me find the verse. Adipusha Prabhu, mute yourself, please. Okay. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 36, Krishna says, Arjuna asks Krishna, O descendant of Vishnu, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, a living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. So we're pure by nature, but somehow or other we're being pulled to commit sinful acts. And sinful means something that is not good for us. Sinful doesn't mean we're going against the dogma and we're going to hell and not coming back. Sinful means we're hurting ourselves. We're going against our pure, selfless nature. But still, we're being pulled towards going against our nature. And Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is it force? What is that force that is pulling us? And Krishna says in verse 337, it is lust only, O Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath. and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Lust is what's hurting us. Lust hurts. It literally does. It can never be satisfied. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says that he gives this example of having an itchy sensation in your body. And then you scratch it, trying to satisfy it, but it's not going away. It's just getting stronger. And then ultimately, Maharaj makes big eyes and says, blood comes. Ultimately, you scratch so hard that blood comes. So lust is an enemy. It's an all-devouring, sinful enemy of this world. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, when a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, when we come in contact, which we do every day, we come in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Passion means I'm the controller, I'm here to enjoy. The more I control, the more I enjoy. And it's ultimately all about me. The more I work, the more I earn, the more I enjoy. That's the mode of passion. And everybody's in the way between me and my enjoyment. And I have to outsmart everybody to satisfy my senses. And so this is our association with the mode of passion. In other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust, as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. I'm thinking of a yogurt brand, Lust. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it's lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. So see, if we mess with the mode of passion, we inevitably go down into the mode of ignorance, which is represented by wrath. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. What is a corollary? What is that? Word nerd? Do we have a word nerd?
What's the word? What's the word?
Corollaries. CORO.
Something that is related or in the same vein.
In the same, something that is in the same vein. Yeah. Thank you, Andrea. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness, by what? By the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. So basically, Srila Prabhupada describes here how we are going to get in contact with the mode of passion, but then we have a choice whether we go down from there or whether we get elevated by the process. And the process is hearing and chanting regularly. The process is saying no to our lower urges, and the other side of this equation is that we're saying yes to Krishna consciousness. Srila Radhanath Maharaj was once asked this question. The devotee was asking, Maharaj, my urges are so strong. My nature is overcoming me. I'm completely overcome. I'm overwhelmed. The urges of nature are so strong. I don't seem to have a fighting chance against them. How do I get them under control? And Maharaj said, that takes sincerity. That requires sincerity. And sincerity doesn't necessarily mean one has to be nice and one has to cry all the time and truly mean it. Sincerity means, according to that particular point that Maharaj was making, sincerity can be shown by determination, by seriousness. When we take Krishna consciousness seriously, when we take up responsibility in Lord Chaitanya's movement, when we take our sadhana, our spiritual practice seriously, in a determined way, with determination, that is the sign of sincerity. So sincerity is not a sentiment; it's hard work. I would say it's when we take Krishna consciousness seriously, that is sincerity. So Maharaj says that overcoming lust, overcoming urges of material nature, will take sincerity, a great deal of sincerity. Sincerity means determination, which means saying no to Maya, because Maya will strike. Maya will strike again and again. So we should say no to it repeatedly. When I first joined this movement, I thought I was done with lust. My lips were curling at the thought of the opposite sex, literally. For a brief moment, I thought, my God, look, my lips are curling. I must have overcome lust. How wonderful is Krishna? I think I'm done here. I was so excited. But then, little did I know that it would all come back, even stronger. So saying no to Maya and saying yes to Krishna. If we're just saying no to Maya, then we will get into this repression mode. And Krishna says that repression will accomplish nothing. Here's the verse. What will repression accomplish? The verse. Here it is. Even the man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, in the end, therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. So repression means we give something up artificially when we're not yet fully Krishna conscious, Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. It's better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training than to renounce everything artificially and being reckless. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. There's so much in this purport. First of all, Maya is Krishna's servant. This is how she's so strong. Or he. Maya Devi, no, she's a she. Okay, Maya Devi is strong because she is serving Krishna. She's coming from Krishna. This is why we should not think that by my spiritual practice, by my determination, I will become so spiritual that I will, conquer Maya. It's not that. Radhanath Maharaj says that we shouldn't think that we will become so spiritual that we can overcome Maya. It is by Krishna's mercy and by Krishna's grace that we can be protected, not overcome, we can't overcome Maya. She's coming from Krishna. But we can be protected from Maya by Krishna's grace, by Krishna's mercy, not by our own spiritual purity, which is there also, but ultimately our process as bhakti yogis, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Gaudiya Vaishnavis, our process is we seek protection from Maya. We acknowledge that Maya is Krishna's servant, and we can be protected from Maya by taking shelter of Krishna and the process of Krishna consciousness, which means we should take it seriously, sincerely, and practice it properly under the right guidance of the Guru. Jeffrey Eckler has an objection. Jeffrey Eckler.
It reminds me of Dhruva Maharaj. You could have a practice that's so strong that you can stand on one leg and meditate for a year and shake the earth. But if you don't take shelter, you still haven't gotten there.
Thank you. Is that Hiranyakashipu standing on one leg?
The Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj. Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey Prabhu. Ananda Manjari.
Yeah, I wanted to add a little bit to this point. I'll just mute you because I think it's from you, the echo. I'm sorry, I'm trying to, okay, I think it's no longer echoing. So I wanted to say that I've heard it said in the past how we often, don't see Maya as strong as she is. And then it actually was said, like, truly we are meant to honor her as like Krishna's energy, and that also is a way of reminding ourselves that because it is Krishna's energy, like external potency, that also already indicates that it's so strong and invincible in a way that already Krishna is perfect, and so his energies are also perfectly performing their diligent duties. And so in that way too, we are seeking shelter of the Lord and also acknowledging, like, yeah, this is so powerful, and the modes of material nature are just like completely, over us. And that's why we need to surrender and seek shelter.
Yes, Ananda Manjari. Thank you. Yeah, we should not mess with Maya. There has to be respect. Srila Prabhupada even says that he once asked his disciples, so what's the difference between you and me? And they were given different answers. And then Srila Prabhupada finally said, the difference between you and me is that you're not sufficiently afraid of Maya. He said, you're not afraid of Maya. So we should take Maya seriously and take shelter of the process. Bhima Prabhu?
Haribol Prabhu. Thank you for opening up the class. Can I be heard okay, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. So Prabhupada mentions, in the verse mentions, that even a man of knowledge is subservient to his own nature. And we find ourselves as Westerners, born in Western bodies, everybody, of course, but especially us who have been brought up sort of in the mode of passion and ignorance. The mode of passion is the mode of passion. There's no way you can change it. This is like wind. It's like the wind. Krishna says, is like, railing against the wind. So I would feel, in my own experience, that when I was younger and fully engaged in the movement, fully engaged in service and devotional service, fully engaged, literally, physically and mentally fully engaged, that it's not like my lips ever curled, but I just did not have any, it wasn't in my consciousness because I was so busy, engaged. And I really felt, I can only personally speak for myself. At that time, I was young, 20, I joined, I think I was 26, 25, as they say, the best years of your life, coming out from college. But when I went to New Vrindavan and then was given a full-time service, literally service to the point where you would drop like a rock at night into bed, that, despite the fact that we were, as brahmacharis, put in very precarious situations, it's not like we were secluded on the farm. We were out there. We were out even late at night. But because we were so fully engaged, it was a mission, and because we were so fully engaged, I at that time did not ever feel troubled in that way. But when I slowed down, when I made a decision to slow down, they say that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So that wind that is of our the mode of passion.
Maya's workshop.
Yeah, Maya's workshop. That wind is like wind in the sails. If as long as we're going to have to deal with that wind, and we can either put the sails down and sit down and lean into our beads, lean into the holy name and pray. But eventually, especially if we're Westerners or in the mode of passion, you got to get up and do something. And that's like putting your sail up, and you just got to go with the wind and engage that passion in some sort of activity. And if you don't have enough physical engagement, I'm sure that Prabhupada and Krishna would be very happy if we exercised, if we took that wind, that passion, and put it to some good use to help make ourselves healthy. Remember, these sins always begin, at least in the mode of, at least with lust, always begins with a thought. If we take the time to contemplate and introspect that
What's the verse, Dima? What's the verse?
What verse?
You're speaking
Oh
like
yeah,
Krishna.
from contemplation, lust develops, and from lust, action, and when action is thwarted, anger, and then one falls again, and then disremembrance or forgetfulness, and then into what is that verse? Some scholar here.
Okay, I have it here.
Yes.
From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool.
But you got to read the verse before that. From contemplation.
Okay. So the verse before it, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachments for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. And from lust, anger arises. And then from anger, bewilderment and delusion and
right.
memories
So
lost. Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if you're at the part where desire and wish and intent and the will to action, it's too late. Especially if
Let me interrupt you, Dima Prabhu.
Yeah.
So I once told Dima Prabhu asked me, "Where are you?" I said, I'm at Tompkins Square Park. I'm on a japa walk. And he said, "No, you're checking out women."
I project. I project. Yeah. If we just realize, it took me 30 years to figure this one out, that if I just stop it at the thought, as soon as the thought comes in, you have to thwart it there. Put your sails down immediately. But if you find the wind is gusting, your sails are up, you can't get them down, then go out and do something. Find some service or go take a run or something like that. I would, really like to read something from Shakespeare on lust. Do you mind if I just read this very quick poem by Shakespeare?
Yeah. I hope we can understand the language.
I will read it slowly. Hold on. Let me find it. Okay. This is actually a sonnet called Lust. Okay, so listen closely to the words. The expense of spirit in a waste of shame is lust in action, and till action, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust. Enjoyed no sooner than despised straight, past reason hunted, and no sooner had past reason hated as swallowed bait. On purpose laid to make the taker mad, mad in pursuit and in possession, so had, having, and in quest to have extreme, a bliss in proof, and proved a very woe. Before a joy proposed, behind a dream, All this the world well knows, yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
So,
Bhima. Sounded
so we
more
have
like
to remember.
a rap.
Yes.
A sonnet.
Haribo.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Yeah, lust is described as a freight train. If you're standing in the way of it, then forget it. But we can take a step aside and let the train pass through. So we don't have to get on the track and try to stop the freight train. We just have to stay out of it. Don't stand in the way of lust. In other words, and Srila Prabhupada uses this example when it's easier to hold the door closed and then all the thieves will be outside and it's easier to deal with them while they're outside. But when you let them in, when they are in your house, it's very hard to deal with them, to drive them out. It's much easier to keep the door closed. And how do we keep the door closed? We don't expose ourselves unnecessarily to things that, to material objects, to things that can fuel our lust. Radhanath Maharaj describes lust as fire. The more you fuel it, people are trying to satisfy that lust by indulging, by going for it. But it's actually like putting fuel in the fire. It will make it burn higher and longer. Yeah. So we have a question in the chat from where is that question? From Bava. What if you're married? Yeah, nice question, Bava. Nice question. Okay, we need a balanced devotee who has been married to. Okay, Scarlett. Would you like to take on Bava's
Hare
question?
Krishna, Hare Krishna. No, I'm not. I don't want to answer that question, but I need to ask my question. So please forgive me. I don't want to answer that. I know the answer for myself, but I don't want to answer it. Thank you.
Yeah, nobody wants to answer it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can collectively address Bava's question. So, Bava, thank you so much. Wonderful question. Oh, Krishna. Yeah, marriage is meant to regulate our lust. So our process is not repression. Our process is regulation. And, we channel our lust, we limit it to one partner, and then Srila Prabhupada says we engage in sex for procreation. But that can be, that should be taken with with maturity, and don't ruin your marriage by, that has to be guidance in that regard. But the principle is that lust should be regulated and limited, and ultimately overcome by process of bhakti. So on the one hand, we limit it and regulate it, and on the other side of the equation, we engage ourselves in bhakti, so that we work from both sides, so to say. Both things are necessary. We should say no to Maya to regulate our lust, and we should say yes to Krishna. We should have good sadhana. We should have proper guidance. So that's how we deal with. And personally, it's when you are married, and when the object of your senses is constantly in front of you, it is challenging. Therefore, we have etiquette. Etiquette is there between husband and wife. There has to be proper etiquette. Maybe even like separate quarters. I don't know. I can't have that. I don't have that. But ideally, some separation, some distance has to be there. That will help. Because if it's constantly in your face, then it's very difficult to. At least speaking of myself, it's very difficult for me to channel my lust if it's constantly in my face. But the process is there, the etiquette is there, the institute of marriage is there. It's all the children are there. Once you have children, forget it. No time for lust. You'll be busy in Lord Chaitanya's movement 24 hours. Okay, that's all. I'm like an armchair philosopher, an armchair conqueror of lust. I'm only speaking theoretically. I'm guilty of every possible charge in that regard. But at least we should know what the standard is. We should know what the process is. We should take advantage of each other's association. We should take advantage of the guru's instruction, of the Shastra, and we will be okay. We will make it. Okay, Scarlett, followed by Ananda Manjari.
Hare Krishna, and thank you for the class today. I have two questions. We talk about that the Maya and Maya's control and Maya's working for Krishna, and even in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about it that they have the control, very strong control, and I understand that. But at the same time, we talk about to have a control over one's senses, and in the same time, teaching about to obey your husband, to do right by your family, and so on and so on. There are even, I have read which I was shocked when I read it, about prostitute, that they were prostitute with in the Vedic time, and that was because the men needed, if men needed, so it's better to do that, go to pay to the prostitute to do that, and so on. What I understand, why I don't understand is abstinence. To do abstinence is very, very important. You have to do only when you have a child. But in honesty, there are times that the men doesn't have the control. The women have the control, but the men doesn't have control. You understand what I mean?
Sure.
When the woman have the the woman, so the man says no, and okay. But when they come to the time that the men are wanted, and the women say no, we shouldn't do that, we are not going to have a child, so it's better not to do that, then it creates a problem, family problem. So what I need to understand, to learn, is how to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to do it. Do I say, no, I'm not going to do it? If you insist on it, then I will divorce you, or to accept it that it's my husband, I have to give him. This is one of my questions. This is one of my questions.
Thank you very much, Scarlett.
Ananda Bihari Prabhu, just to support you on that, it's on Andrea. I put a link in the chat to the Grahasta, the Vaishnava Family Resources.org. It's a Grahasta Vision Team website, Scarlett, and these are specially trained Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, ISKCON, who support devotees with questions like what you have, because it's really something that can only be addressed on a one-to-one personal basis. It's something that is important to be addressed individually and compassionately, both keeping in mind, are you the only one that's practicing Krishna consciousness, or are you both practicing Krishna consciousness? What is your definition of that? What's the level of your marriage? So there's a lot of things that are part of that. So the Grahasta Vision Team can really help with either counseling or support. There's a lot of materials that can be accessed that way. So that would be my suggestion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. That's invaluable what you just said. It's all individual, but we can safely discuss the principle that Srila Prabhupada laid out in his purport to the repression verse. He says, therefore, without being fully Krishna conscious, one should not give up his occupational duties. We can, understand that in the lust context. One should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It's a process. It's a process. It won't happen overnight. You can't just it's not recommended by Srila Prabhupada. It's better, Srila Prabhupada says, to be situated in one's position and to try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training, like Andrea said. There has to be somebody, this husband and wife and what's happening between them. And there has to be someone who they both have respect for and they listen to. And then, in that way, differences may be sorted out in a nice way, in a balanced way. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. Okay. Would anyone want?
There is another one. I have one more question. Please accept my apologies. I'm so sorry. We talk about control. Then there are situations that I learned about the people that have very bad sickness, but still they do the things it's not good for them. For instance, we say for instance, a diabetic person shouldn't eat certain things because it's dangerous. They can get blind. They can even go through amputation and so on and so on because of that. Still, they can't control themselves. How to understand that? Is it because this person chooses to risk his life or her life, or no, this is something that the karmic have to, because of the karma, this person have to go through that?
There is karma, definitely. Karma is definitely pulling us in different directions. Our previous actions, they condition us in a certain way, but at the same time, we have free will. Free will is always there. We can always choose Krishna over Maya. We can overcome karma, overcome the reactions by taking up consciousness. There's always free will. Okay, with that, thank you, Scarlett. Thank you very much. We'll have an afterglow. So nice to see you. Taking darshan means being seen by Krishna.
Bhagavatam Pasitam Prasundaranam Koti Kamaniya Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Anani Sakalen Priyaveti Manti Shanti Kayanti Viram Kanti Naga Simaya Adu Sala Vigrahasya Govindam Haripuratam.
Hey, welcome to the Afterglow. So I hope we didn't go too crazy. It's a very delicate subject matter, and we don't want to say something that will discourage people. At the same time, we want to stay truthful and loyal to the Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam sometimes may speak very heavily on certain subjects like lust, but that's what we need a guru for. That's what our senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis are for. Because the book may be there, but the book, Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, you cannot separate those things. Because if it's just Shastra, Bhagavad Gita was present in the West. It was translated for decades before Srila Prabhupada came, but there wasn't a single devotee. But when a devotee came to the West, and there was Shastra and a devotee, that's when the process took off. Yeah. Okay, Bhima Prabhu, I see your hand raised. Is that from the previous time you spoke, or is something new you'd like to share?
Yeah, Prabhu. One time I was sitting on the front stoop of the Boston Temple, and a younger devotee was getting married. Was about to get married. He had proposed to a wonderful Mataji who actually was my goddaughter, and we were sitting and we were joking around because he was a very intelligent young man, and he said, I hear there's so much trouble within marriages within the movement. In fact, our divorce rate, I hate to say this, is very, very high. It's higher than even the Western world. And he says, I just don't want this to happen. And he goes, do you have any advice? And, of course, I cracked a few jokes because I really, I can't, I'm not a prophet in this vein. I had to struggle and fight my whole way through to understand things. But at that time, a very advanced, beautiful householder couple had come out, and I had asked the Prabhu, whose name I forget at this time, Prabhu, we want to talk to you. And he sat down with us, and I said, can you give this young man some advice on how to make a successful marriage? And he said, you have to understand that your wife, and the wife has to understand that her husband is not theirs. They are not yours. They are Krishna's. If you always remind yourself, if we can wake up in the morning and chant Krishna's names, and if we know that, and we will know if we're having trouble in our marriage due to lust, then we should pray that we never place ourselves between Krishna and our spouse, that we always remind ourselves that this person and this person's body is actually Krishna's. That's the whole thing with the gopis running out at night. Yes. That with the gopis running out at night around their husbands, around right over their husbands, just get out of my way. I'm going to Krishna. These pastimes, this Leela isn't about 5,000 years ago or some esoteric, philosophical thing that is beyond us, and we really shouldn't be listening to it. It's to teach us an example, and that is our wife is Krishna's, and as much as we can get out of our way and encourage her to run to Krishna, then the more she will be absorbed in her Krishna consciousness. And ourselves as men also, in having that respect, RESPECT, having respect for our wives, to understand that they're Krishna's, and for the wives to understand that tell your husband what's up if there's a problem with the male side of it, not breaking regulations or whatever. That Prabhupada said that this marriage is a concession, and one of the things that I learned being married for 35 years now is that marriage is a schooling ground, because you're just not, this regulation, this, oh, once in a while, we got to keep it regulated. You'll learn after a while that you need to give up the bodily conception, that you should not be controlled by those lower chakras, that you got to raise that up. You got to raise that up into your heart. You got to raise that energy. That wind is going to be there. You got to raise that energy up into your heart. Get it off the ground, get it off that lower energy level, and get it up into the heart. And if you truly love your wife, and if the wife truly loves the husband, then you'll encourage both to run to Krishna in times like this. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Yeah, that's a really, really helpful tip. When you view your counterpart in marriage, your husband or wife, as not your husband or wife, but Krishna's husband or wife, Krishna's partner. It's not my person for me to enjoy. That person belongs to Krishna, the servant of Krishna. That's a very, very helpful tool in dealing with lust. It's, on the one hand, marriage is definitely, there's some attraction has to be there, because otherwise I would have married Bhima Prabhu, and we would be reading Srimad Bhagavatam together and cutting jokes and getting along. But I married a girl, and Bhima married a girl for some reason. So attraction is there, sexual attraction is there in marriage for sure. But ultimately, the marriage should lead us to a place where we are no longer blinded by that attraction, where it's properly channeled, where both parties are seeing each other as Krishna's servant, and not piece of flesh for me to enjoy while I still can. And I'm working so hard, and my wife says, no, come on. Not that. It's Krishna's daughter. It's not your wife. It's Krishna's daughter. Yeah. All right. So Krishna's daughters and Krishna's sons, we love you. Thank you very much for participating. Andrea, thank you for the wonderful resources that you put in the chat and spoke earlier. Okay, here it comes from Andrea in the chat. The cardinal principle of Grihastha Ashram, means family life, is that no one may be the owner of any property or service of another. All right, nice. Everyone is only a servant whose activities are ever in the service of the Lord. Similarly, the sole object of everyone's service, as the only master, only friend, only son, and only consort, is Krishna. Marrying and given in marriage do not give rise to any rights of a master, either to the husband or to the wife. Nice. Men and women are joined in wedlock for the purpose of serving each other in the performance of the joint service of Krishna. The wife is not an object of enjoyment of the husband, nor vice versa. They do not marry for gratifying their sexual appetites. Yeah, that's not the focus. It's there, but it's not the focus of marriage. They marry for pleasing the Lord, not for pleasing themselves. They choose for their partners only such persons who serve God better than themselves. Nice. Thank you, Andrea. Where's that from?
I put the link in the chat. It's actually part of an article written by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur that he wrote on marriage and the relations between the sexes. Rukmini Walker Prabhu quotes it a lot. That's how I knew about it.
Thank you. Yeah, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's guru, was a lifelong brahmachari, and hearing those words from him are especially powerful and impactful. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, so another day in Krishna consciousness. There's this meat store is opening its door. So, but we're not choosing that. We're choosing Krishna over Maya repeatedly. Right, Adipusha Prabhu? You're choosing Maya or Krishna today?
Hare Krishna, thank you for answering my question.
Bhava, thank you so much for asking that question. That shows your sincerity. Adi and the birds, freaking birds. Okay, all right.
You can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful class, fantastic discussion. The philosophy is very clear. But practically speaking, the purpose, our desire, the focus of our endeavor, if we have a strong relationship with the spiritual master and he gives us a project, a specific prescribed duty, and we're focused on that very intensely, where there's light, there's no darkness. If the purpose of our marriage is mutual sense gratification, then we'll go in that direction. But we have something to really give ourselves. Martin Luther King said, "Unless I've found something I'm willing to die for, I'm not yet really alive." So having a laser-like focus on a service, you know, it might be book distribution, it might be maintaining a preaching center, it might be we have prashad distribution, it might be something like the guest program we're taking on, to be absorbed in something else other than the voices of the mind and senses, then we're free. You know, you can't just negate something and not fill up that, like when Bema was giving that analogy in the sale, that energy, that strength, that intelligence, that the finances, the time must be given somewhere. And if it's not given totally to particular prescribed duty, then naturally Maya will fill that up easily. Whatever slack we leave, then Maya will take up that slack, and we'll be drifting. We're always moving. I was listening to Vaishya Shekhar last night, and he was saying, "I'm always looking for mentors. I'm here to be corrected. I want to be able to reveal my mind in confidence to somebody I look up to and I trust, and somebody who's dedicated, and somebody who has purity and wisdom. And I'm always trying to take shelter of devotees who are absorbed in devotional service, so that I'm not stagnant. No matter what level we're at, there's always room for improvement. And that improvement comes by serving a person. Not just a list of rules and regulations, but somebody who we say, what would you like me to do? And then they give you something to do, and then when you do it, you say, is this pleasing you? And then the husband and wife are protected, and their relationship is stable. It says in the Christian tradition, man and woman shouldn't walk toward each other, because they'll just bump heads. But they can walk hand in hand toward God forever. So when we have that direction in our life, what is that thing Marianne Williams said? Marianne Williamson had a boyfriend, and he said, "Marianne, it's you and me against the world." And she said, when I heard him say that, I said to him, I think I'm going to change sides. You know, because the tendency is to just get into this codependent, you know. Anyway, I'm talking too long. I can see I'm boring you. Okay, well, Lord Prabhupada had a question.
No,
Wonderful that he's giving us
no,
an avenue. Okay, I'll let you go. Hare Krishna.
no. I'm just in the car, and it's getting very hot in the car. But what you said is wonderful and bona fide, Adipusha. We're serving Krishna together. We're not
Yes.
to satisfy our senses. That's not the focus. Thank you. And Srila Prabhupada says, do not artificially give up your duties overnight. Humbly, honestly perform your duties, prescribed duties, and take to the process of Krishna consciousness, and then you'll be liberated from the clutches of Maya. That's from the purport to the verse that says that repression can accomplish nothing, by Srila Prabhupada. Okay. And of course, Adipusha Prabhu has emphasized the guru. That has to be a guru in life. Personal association, personal instruction in life. We should seek that. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. Thank you, Andrea, for giving me a heart. This way I know I haven't said anything ridiculous. Thank you. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. Venetia, nice to see you. Okay. Another heart from Andrea. That's for Venetia and Whiskas. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. Okay, Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Choose Krishna and come again tomorrow. Bhima Prabhu, put your hand down.
Ananda Bihari, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Or I'll wreck you.
That's Andrea's service, saving us from wrecking. Okay. All right. Okay. Hare Krishna.